The birth of rock and roll started in the 1840s. It all started with plantation songs, military bands, Sweet Chariot, and much more. This birth of music sparked hundreds of new ideas and revolutions in the music industry. In the 1920s, the Jazz Age started something completely new. The invention of the radio and phonograph record played a large role into the development of music. Jazz was being played all over the country in public dance halls, clubs, and tea rooms. Jazz was everywhere. With artists such as Louis Armstrong, Jelly Roll Morton, and Bessie Smith, it was hard to escape this revolutionary idea. All into the 1930s, jazz was still the big thing, with big bands, swing, Delta blues, Western gospel, and bluegrass. In the 1940s, it was basically built around jazz and big bands that were popular during the day. With such artists like Rosemary Clooney and Artie Shaw, they helped define the musical era of that time. Because of the war, it was the time for many breakthrough artists to make their mark in the history of music. Some superstar singers that were able to make a significant mark are Bing Crosby. Many people still today listen to his infamous White Christmas song, and Frank Sinatra. Within this era included Chicago blues, which started the Chess Records and Rolling Stones, boogie woogie, and country western music. In the 1950 through 1954 era started pop music. Although it was classified as pop, it was sure to be safe and silly, trying not to start an outbreak and contention with the audiences who listened to such music. Such songs as How Much Is That Doggy in the Window by Patti Page was included in this pop era.
The first wave started with the rise of youth culture in 1954 to 1959. After World War II, middle-class teens were given less responsibilities and they had more leisure time. They sort of embraced rhythm and blues and socially rebelled. Movies had more rebellious themes too. For example, The Blackboard Jungle, which was about a teenage delinquency in an urban high school, featured the song by Billy Haley and the Comets' Rock Around the Clock. More and more radio stations began playing rhythm and blues. It became very popular among the youth. Black artists also began to cross over in 1955. For example, Chuck Berry. He was a flamboyant performer whose lines were directed at teenage listeners. Popular songs include Maybelline and Johnny B. Goode. He was later arrested for transporting a 14-year-old girl across state lines for immoral purposes. Another example includes Little Richard, famous for his outrageous stage performances that later laid a foundation for rock and roll. His song Tutti Frutti was actually included in the Library of Congress's National Recording Registry in 2010, claiming that the unique vocalization over the irresistible beat announced a new era in music. He opened the door and brought races together, but he later decided to follow a life in ministry. Other fathers of the first wave of rock and roll include Jerry Lee Lewis, who was also like Little Richard and had wild stage shows. He was most famous for his song Great Balls of Fire. And Buddy Holly was also a major founder of rock and roll, and wrote many great songs, but sadly his career ended when he was killed in a plane crash. Last but not least, the ever-so-popular Elvis Presley. He was one of the first rock and roll stars to create mainstream popularity. He attracted many young teenage girls. He had 14 Grammy nominations, 3 wins of that, and was named one of the 10 outstanding young men of the nation for 1970 by the United States. But however, he was drafted to serve in the U.S. Army.
Through 1960 and 1963 was the Filling the Void era. This included girl groups like the Crystals and Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. Surf rock was another genre that started in the Filling the Void era. It was mostly instrumental, but the Beach Boys started a vocal band with its popular song California Girls. Dick Dale was also a part of the surf rock genre with his most popular song, Let's Go Trippin'. Artists such as Ricky Nelson, Roy Orbison, and the Everly Brothers started the rockabilly pop genre. The folk revival genre included Bob Dylan and his most famous song, Blowin' in the Wind.
The British invasion occurred in the mid-60s, 1964 to 1966, when bands from the United Kingdom that focused on rock and pop music became popular in the United States. The most popular bands from the invasion included the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Kinks, the Dave Clark Five, and the Who. The Beatles were from Liverpool, England, and consisted of John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. Widely known as the most influential act of the rock era, according to the RIAA, they were the best-selling music artists in the United States with 177 million certified units. They had more number one albums on the British charts and sold more singles in the UK than any other group. They have an estimated sales of over 600 million records worldwide. One of their most popular songs is I Want to Hold Your Hand. Also on the list was Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and Charlie Watts and Ronnie Wood formed this English rock band from Dartford, England. They were first noted in the United States for their long hair and youthful and rebellious culture. Some of their songs included Let It Bleed and Sticky Fingers. In fact, the band made what were the 4 highest grossing concerts tours of all time. They were put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1989. Also recognized as one of the most influential rock groups of the British invasion were the Kinks, an English rock band formed in North London. Pete Coiffe, Dave Davies, Ray Davies, and Mick Avery were included. Topping the charts in the United States was their song You Really Got Me. They had 5 top 10 singles on the US Billboard chart. The Dave Clark Five, also included in the British invasion, formed in London, England, and were a very popular English group. In fact, their single Glad All Over knocked the Beatles' song I Want to Hold Your Hand off the top of the UK single charts list, and later it became number 6 in the US. They were also put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Another English rock band was The Who, and Roger Daltrey, Pete Townshend, and John Entwistle were their best-known lineup. They featured auto-destructive art by destroying guitars and drums on stage that caught the attention of many. Their song, I Can't Explain, reached the top 10. Many more successes followed, including My Generation, Substitute, and Happy Jack.
Through 1967 and 1969, the psychedelia rock phase started the LSD phase of music. There was music for the trip and music as the trip. Music as the trip included the Beatles, the Beach Boys, and the Doors. The music for the trip included Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and Grateful Dead. The new genre of funk included James Brown and his popular songs I Feel Good and Say It Loud. In 1967 started the psychedelic festivals and included the Human Being and the Monterey Pop Festival. In the Monterey Pop Festival, Jimi Hendrix, The Who, Ravi Shankar, Janis Joplin, and Otis Redding were guests of that festival.
Expansion and experimentation lasted from 1970 to 1975. Major labels began to take chances on different sounds and groups. Artists and songwriters then began trying unique music styles and trying to get money from major rock labels. New genres became popular in this era, such as blues-based rock, glam rock, progressive rock, and Motown. Blues-based rock created solos, improvisation, and more hard rock. Some examples of this are Led Zeppelin and Steppenwolf. Progressive rock was the first college rock. It was based on more experimentation. Pink Floyd was a great example of this. Glam rock started in the UK, but became popular in the United States later. The performers and artists had crazy makeup, hairstyles, and costumes. Examples of this include Iggy and the Stooges and David Bowie. Other examples that were popular in this era are Stevie Wonder and Kiss. Stevie Wonder was blind but very successful in the music industry. He played many instruments and put on fantastic performances for many audiences. He was widely known for his singles Superstition and You Are the Sunshine of My Life. He in fact was awarded 22 Grammy Awards. Kiss was also widely known in the United States for their outrageous stage performances. They had crazy demon makeup and in fact did fire breathing, fireworks, smoked guitars, and did blood spitting during their performances. The expansion and experimentation era was very important in the music history because many genres were created through the diversity of artists.
In 1976 and 1980, corporate rock included blending styles with Cheap Trick, Boston, Journey, and Foreigner. Progressive rock such as Kansas, Styx, Rush, and Queen also became a thing in this era. Singer-songwriters were also starting to become a big thing with Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, and Bob Seger. Punk rock in this era was a direct rejection of corporate rock, with New York groups such as New York Dolls, Patti Smith, and Television, and Ramones were just a few examples of some punk rock groups. Disco rooted in black gay clubs in New York, with groups such as the Bee Gees and Village People promoted as a sort of gay version of the Beatles and the Monkees.
The MTV era lasted between 1981 and 1990. MTV is an American basic cable and satellite television channel with an original purpose of playing music videos. The first music video shown on MTV was the Buggles' Video Killed the Radio Star. Many black artists were rejected by MTV. Even Michael Jackson struggled to have a music video played, but his video Billie Jean broke the race barrier and became quite popular. Beat It was also played quite frequently. Donna Summer's She Works Hard for the Money was also very popular on MTV. MTV inspired many different music styles and groups. Some included mainstream pop and rock, and the Second British Invasion, synth pop and the New Romantics, girl groups, Americana, hardcore punk, and heavy metal. Mainstream pop and rock became popular through Michael Jackson and Madonna. Madonna was a major MTV figure who took control of her own music career. She had major hits like Hung Up and Like a Virgin. Also, synth pop and the New Romantics was widely known on MTV. Groups and artists such as Wham, Buggles, New Kid on the Block, and Eurythmics played a major part. Each girl groups included the Bangles and Go-Go's, while heavy metal included AC/DC, Judas Priest, and Def Leppard. Other examples include Bon Jovi, who was famous for his album Slippery When Wet that came out in 1986, and Guns N' Roses, who was known for their hit Sweet Child of Mine that reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. As influential as MTV was on the music industry, it began playing other things other than music videos and began to die down.
Through 1991 and 1994 was the grunge stage. This originated around Seattle with a depressed economy. Not many touring bands were going around Seattle, but Nirvana started making its way up to the top with its most popular album, Nevermind.
The rock's mixed bag era began in 1995 to 2000, with a competition to see the next big thing, but however, no one wins. Many things became popular throughout this time, such as classic rock, divas, black pop, rap, mainstream country, indie rock, and teen idols. For example, teen idols played a major part in rock's mixed bag. Boy bands and teen girls became popular. For example, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, and Justin Timberlake. These are just some of the major contributions to the music industry in the rock mixed bag era. The digital revolution lasted from 2001 and continues until now. Post-grunge or alternative pop became popular through artists and groups like Jimmy Eat World and Fall Out Boy. Hip-hop has also become famous through Eminem, Jay-Z, Beyonce, and Rihanna. Another popular modern-day music genre is the empowerment anthem pop. Female artists such as Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift, and Kesha are examples of this. On the other hand, folk rock has also become popular through Mumford & Sons and Lumineers. Along with those genres, indie rock has also made a contribution to modern-day music. Bands such as the Imagine Dragons and White Stripes are popular examples. Technology is also very important during this time. Modern tools and devices have made getting, purchasing, and listening to music much easier. iPods, cell phones, and MP3 players, and the iTunes Store are just some examples.